Hello everyone, my name is Hellion and today I'm going to show you Tales of Zestiria to help you decide if it's worth importing or if you should just wait until the English version. After finishing the game, I thought I would share my opinion and fill you in on some of the things you should know before picking it up. But just keep in mind that this is coming from the perspective of someone that isn't fluent in Japanese and just enjoys games for their gameplay. I did understand the story, but just not to its fullest. This is the newest game in the Tales series and it's been in development for the past 3 years to be released for the series' 20th anniversary. Zestiria takes a different direction by focusing on open world and seamless battles. There are a few things that you might recognize if you've played the previous games, but there are some things that are totally new. So I want to show you the game and show you what I found during my playthrough. For anyone that's played Tales of Graces, you'll understand the art system in this game since it generally follows the same format. Arts are skills that are used in this game to attack. Pushing the left stick in combination with circle or X will trigger art. Depending on the situation, they can be chained up to 4 times for a basic combo. But arts can be weaved into one another to create your own combos, so you can mix the arts from the circle button in with the arts from the X button. However, all arts on the circle button are fixed and cannot be changed. But you can customize the ones that are on X, and those can be learnt through titles. The equipment system in this game is slightly different from the previous ones. Equipment is customizable and gives you the freedom to decide how you want to set up each of your characters. As you explore the world, you'll find weapons and armor that have skills attached to them. Skills give additional bonuses to each of your characters. Each bit of equipment will have one skill that will always be bound to it, but up to 3 other skills can be added to them. If you have the same skill on multiple pieces of equipment, those can stack, triggering a bonus skill. If you have skills of the same element forming a row on the skill board, you will also gain a bonus skill. And if you have skills that form a column of all of the different elements, that can trigger bonus skills too. These can be used to further enhance your characters. Instead of buying weapons in shops or just finding them in dungeons and then just throwing them away when you have no use for them again, you're encouraged to keep the equipment you find from enemies and in treasure chests. When you obtain a duplicate piece of equipment, you can fuse them together to create a more powerful version and transfer the skills from one another as long as you have the slots available. This can be done multiple times, so if you find the equipment you like, you can continue to increase its potential. And if you happen to make silly mistakes like me, you can lock your equipment so you don't sell them by accident. You can equip your characters with titles, giving them bonus stats. Titles gain experience each time your character levels up, and arts are learned from titles, so it's worth flicking through your titles and checking which art is next in line to be learned from each title. There is something that may be considered a weak point in this game. I did manage to finish the whole game without enhancing my equipment, even while playing on hard. Like usually in games I brute force my way through just to see how far I can get without ever using any of their upgrading systems. Then if I actually reach a place where I can't progress, I just give in and do some upgrading. But I didn't actually reach the point in this game. I just managed to survive by finding any equipment that has slightly better stats and I just kind of equipped them. But I did see my fair share of game over screens because I played like that. But if you fail once in this game and you go back into the fight knowing what to expect, then there's a good chance you're going to win it. Deaths in this game are usually because you're caught off guard, so I would recommend upgrading your equipment. If you don't, then there's going to be a few things that will catch you off guard and punish you for it. In this game you can heal your party members in battle, but if you're in one of the menus outside of battle, you cannot use your arts to heal anyone. If your HP is low, you're going to have to use items and snacks to recover your HP. But there is another way to recover your HP outside of battle, and that is using the support talents. Support talents can be equipped to each character, giving them bonuses to use when they're outside of battle, just like recovering HP while running or increased movement speed. Each character has a variety of skills they can choose from, but they will only work if you have them equipped. These skills level up over time and seem to be based on the amount of footsteps you take. Some support skills like snack making will create snacks after a certain amount of steps have been taken. Battle actions are similar to the skills you could equip to the characters in the Zestitia games, or any of the other games, but this time they're universal and they affect all characters in battle. Battle actions add extra elements to the combat system. For example, there's one battle action that makes free run a default movement style, and another one that reduces the damage taken from enemy mystic arts if you block at the right time. Each battle action will have a prerequisite that needs to be completed before you can use them. AP is needed to equip each battle action, and you can increase your maximum AP by finding monuments and discoveries throughout the world. Appearance customization is back, and it's just as deep as it was in Tales of Zestiria. You can change your character's clothing, you can change their hairstyles, and you can give them accessories that you find throughout the story, or you can buy some extra ones from the PlayStation Store. The accessory system has changed slightly though. You have 3 slots available that you can put accessories into, and each accessory has its own equip requirement. You have 3 accessory points available to you, so if you have 3 accessory slots open, you can't use 2 accessories that have a cost of 2, because that will go over the limit. Not entirely sure why they did this, because it limits people's creativity, but it didn't bother me too much because I just use sunglasses. Now, I did say earlier that Tales of Zestiria has gone for a more open world approach, so I'm going to show you exactly what I mean by that. You'll come across various different areas while you're playing. These can range from dungeons to castles, and some of the biggest field areas I've seen in a Tales game. The areas are huge, and for the most part they're really nice to look at, but I can't help but feel everything done in the world was a bit too ambitious and the game starts to suffer for it. The first thing I noticed that suffers is the view range. Monsters and some other objects like rocks and bushes just appear out of nowhere. I don't really notice when it's 1 or 2 things that load every now and then, but when you see large sections of the area load at once, there's a problem. I mean, some bushes are used to obscure objects like treasure chests, so they keep them hidden when you run up to them. But if you can see the treasure chest load before the bushes do, then it's pretty pointless to even try hiding them. I mean, why do it? Why even try? I can see it. It's there. You can abuse this view range and force the game to load enemies you want to fight as well. So if there's an enemy you don't like, you can step out of the view range and then step back in until you see a creature that you actually want to fight, and then you're good to go. I don't know why that's even there. They must have noticed that. The distance this happens at varies though. Outdoor areas seem to have a longer view range, and indoors seem to have a pretty short view range. But with that being said, I did enjoy traveling around, killing enemies and discovering new locations. Save points have a fast travel system in place to help you get from one place to another really quick, but it will cost gold and that can get very expensive. But you can access a grade shop from the save points as well, and you can enable and disable area bonuses such as cheaper fast travel costs, or the ability to show enemy locations on a map, even the ability to make treasure chests respawn after you've been away from an area for a while. And for anyone that's wondering what grade actually is, it's a currency that you get from battle depending on how well you perform. As you progress through the game, you'll come across small creatures called Normin that can be used to force enemies to drop equipment with certain skills attached, but in turn that will increase the level of enemies throughout the whole area. You're going to need to keep a lookout for these creatures because they can be hidden in some pretty ridiculous places. Monuments that give battle tips and discovery areas that trigger skits are waiting to be found around the world. But apart from that, there's just not enough in these areas to make them worth being so big. Enemies can be far apart and sometimes you actually need to go out of your way to find a fight. And most of the areas you can actually enter are just on the edges of the map and are only transitions into other places like dungeons and towns. It feels like a lot of the space is just wasted, and the only reason they made large areas is just to give you the feeling of size and scale, which honestly does work. As you get further into Tales of Zestiria, options will open up and you'll be free to complete many of the story related quests in any order that you want. This is where the open world is at its best. If you decide you want to explore the world rather than be guided down a set path, you're free to do so. There's still going to be a good chance you'll run into a quest when you're exploring, so your time really isn't been wasted even if you decide you want to deviate from the main path. But if you do feel like you're starting to get lost, you can turn around and speak to your partner and they will remind you where you actually need to go. If you speak to them, it will have a list of all your available quests and you can check them just to get yourself back on track. Even though the game does open up, your progress will still be gated by the map actions you have available. One action is used to burn obstacles, another one can be used to cross gaps, another one can be used to avoid enemy detection, and another one can be used to destroy large rocks. Your progress will be stopped in some areas if you don't have the required action to bypass these obstacles, so even though you are given freedom, some locations will still be gated. The dungeons in this game are a mixed bag. The story related ones are great, they got interesting environments and the puzzles do require your attention. The side quest or random dungeon in this game, however, are decent if your only focus is getting loot. They look bland and every single one of them has the same set of puzzles. All you have to do is stand in front of a wall and use one of the map actions to open it, and there's another puzzle where you have to dash through a gate. That's it. The only difference to these dungeons are the colours of the walls and the layout. It's not really a big deal for me because dungeon designs won't really bother too many people, but there will be situations where the game will force you to watch those walls. It will make you look at the walls. And that's because of one of my biggest problems with this game, the battle camera in dungeons. Battles take place in the same location you engage the enemy, so the camera can get stuck on walls if you happen to fight in a tight space. This wouldn't really be too much of a problem, but the game forces you to stay within a certain area, and that restricts your movement even more. They decided they wanted the player to feel immersed in the game by not having a full transition to a battle area when you engage with an enemy. But honestly, I would rather have a dedicated battle area if that meant I could have a more reliable camera. The immersion is already gone when you start combat because there's still a brief transition. And it gets disrupted even more when the camera hangs onto walls or focuses on distant enemies, clipping the control character off the screen. This seems to be an issue with indoor dungeons that have tight paths. Outside in the world, it's rare to run into these issues because there's less things out there for the camera to get stuck on. It doesn't happen as often as you'd think, but when it does, it's frustrating. In combat, you can adjust the camera's position if you don't like where it is. This can help with a few of the issues, but not all of them. The combat system is the reason I play Tales games, and for this game it's taken a different direction with it. This time the combat system is called the Fusonic Chain Linear Motion Battle System. The name sounds ridiculous, but the system is actually pretty damn cool. They've streamlined the experience and made a few changes that I actually like. Overall, it feels like you have less arts at your disposal in comparison with the other games, but it feels like the arts in this game all have more of a purpose. There's a rock paper scissors like system in this game where certain attacks will cancel out others. Some arts will cancel out an enemy's spellcasting, but if you don't pay attention to what you're doing and use the wrong arts, it will actually increase their casting speed, which will be bad for you. This combat system may not give you the freedom to create stylish combos and air juggles as easily as you could in the previous Tales games, but it will force you to think on your feet and make quick decisions based on what's happening. Players that master this combat system will be able to control the battle even during difficult fights. They'll be able to heal party members, issue commands to the rest of the team, and deal out damage without ever opening the items menu. For the most part, the battle party will consist of 2 humans and 2 Seraphim at a time. Think of the humans as frontline characters. They're going to be focusing on dealing melee damage and keeping the enemies away from the Seraphim. The Seraphim characters can be considered as support and will focus on using magic. The good thing about the Seraphim is they can be replaced during combat if they are needed for certain situations. No character in this game is actually useless and everyone has their own purpose within the party. If a Seraphim dies during combat, they can be switched out and they will recover over time. If one of the humans die during combat, the Seraphim can fuse with them provided they have enough BG and bring them back to life. BG is one of the resources used in combat. It can be used to transform, execute mystic arts, heal party members, extend combos and modify attacks. BG is generated by attacking or taking damage, or through other methods added by battle actions. SC is another resource used in combat, and is consumed when you use arts. This can be recovered rapidly when you stop attacking or if you block, as long as you're standing still. After battles, your maximum SC will reduce if you don't rest, so you'll need to keep an eye on it to make sure it doesn't get too low, or when you start fights you'll have drastically reduced SC. But you can eat snacks or sleep at inns to restore this. As you progress through the game, you'll eventually run out of space to equip new arts, but that doesn't mean you still can't use the ones you don't have equipped. Your basic melee arts can be chained into your advanced versions by holding down X, once you've unlocked the required battle action that is. As long as you keep holding X, you'll continue to use the arts that are part of that chain. And magic has a similar system in place as well. After you've unlocked the right battle actions and arts, if you hold down circle after you fully charge a spell, you can convert it into the advanced version. Magic casting speed can be increased too depending on which stage of a combo you cast the spell. So if magic is used on the 4th hit of a combo, it will cast faster than if you use it on the 1st hit. You can mix melee and magic arts together into one combo to make the most of this system. Or you can just spam the same spell over and over again, it's totally up to you. Once you've reached a certain point in the story, you will have access to mystic arts. You can think of these as the character's finishing moves, and these can be activated by pushing R2 and circle in the middle of a combo. These generally do some heavy damage, and you have a battle action that can be set so that anyone in the party, including the AI, will use them automatically if they have enough BG. So now it's time for the part of the battle system that people either love or hate. Armatization is a new system in the Tales series that allows 2 characters, one human and one Seraphim, to fuse together. While fused, you have exclusive arts, high stats, but your moveset is pretty limited and situational, plus it costs 1 BG per transformation. While in this form you can deal elemental damage based on the Seraphim you fused with, and you can heal party members by pushing R2. The party member with the lowest HP is prioritized and healed, but this should be used in emergencies because this also costs 1 BG. If one of the humans are killed in combat, their partner Seraphim can still fuse with them and bring them back to life. This will put them into the armatization form automatically if they have enough BG to do that. Fusion Resurrection only works on humans though, so if the Seraphim dies you can't fuse with them until you bring them back to life, or wait for them to resurrect while they're switched out. Elements are pretty important in this game, so it's best to switch to the Seraphim that has the right elemental advantage over the enemy. But there may be some situations where you want to use a certain transformation mainly because of the way they play, rather than their element. The Fire transformation uses a greatsword, has a lot of self-centered AoE attacks, and uses magic that can nuke enemies from a distance or push them back with a wall of fire. The Water transformation uses a bow to deal damage from a distance, and they're the best when it comes to healing party members. You can set water traps and make it rain arrows with arts. The Earth transformation summons giant fists to deal mid-range area damage by creating stone pillars and throwing boulders at enemies. While in this form, your magic can auto-target multiple enemies to deal damage from a distance, or you can use arts that deal damage to every enemy in the area at the same time. The Wind transformation uses rapid punches and kicks to deal damage and keep enemies stunned. While in this form you can use tornadoes, blades of wind and lasers to deal damage. It did take a while for the combat systems to open up and actually show its potential. I'd say it took roughly around 10 hours before it became interesting. During the first few hours of the game, the combat did feel spammy because your choice of attacks were limited. But to get the most out of the combat system, I would recommend you play the game on the hard difficulty. There are certain battle actions that can only be unlocked in that difficulty, and you will get better rewards after fights. The combat system works at its best when you play on a hard difficulty because it pushes you to react to the situations faster, and the game's a bit too easy on normal. Honestly, an open world Tales game was never something I wanted, but after experiencing what this game had to offer, I can happily say that this is the way forward. It's not perfect at the moment at all, but I hope they'll continue down this path and refine and expand on these ideas in the next game. Despite its issues and its questionable design choices, Tales of Zestiria is still a great game. I've been comparing this with the previous Tales games, but I'd recommend you just see this game as its own thing and play it for what it is. But is this game actually worth importing? Yes, it actually is, but I don't think you should do it unless you speak fluent Japanese. Since the English version is coming out this year, you should just wait until it's out and experience the game to its fullest. It's a good game, despite the misinformation that seems to be floating around about it. I did plan on making a video after I played the game for roughly around 40 hours, but I decided to finish it just to see if the drama surrounding the game was actually true. The drama's overblown. It's overblown or just wrong. For anyone that just can't wait until the game's released in English, I'll put a link to where you can buy the game from in the description, as well as any other resources that can help you play. If you have any questions to ask about the game, feel free to leave a comment. If you want to see more import overviews and gameplay videos from me, drop me a like and subscribe to my channel. But until I make my next video, I'll see you all later.